Yes, welcome. We are in If My People Bible reading, part 44, the book of Genesis, in chapter 20. And we'll start there. Abraham moved on from there into a region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. And for a while he stayed in Gerar. And we comment in this Bible commentary that here we go again with a similar sin. And by the way, not just Abraham. When Abraham does this sin and he has his children, unfortunately, this is one of those sins you hear about that passes on through the children. Once you show children what to do, they're going to do it. They're just going to do it. What do we say today to apply that? What was I told? Oh, here's a good one. And I'm sure my father was told that by his father. Don't do what I do, son. Do what I say. I heard that a lot. My brother heard that a lot. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. Then you don't say anything to your father. You might get back when I was young. You would get hit. You don't hit people these days, even if they need it. You go to jail. So, especially the way we were hit, like teeth knocked out, as you've seen it. I don't have the straightest teeth. That's just the way it was. And was I brain damaged? Was I brain damaged from all of it as a result? No. I recovered. Life goes on. But Abraham had an issue here, and it was that he married Sarai, who became Sarah, the mother of the nations, and he went from Abram to Abraham, and he became the father of the nations. And does that mean he's the father of the whole world? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means he's the father of the 12 tribes, which we're basically going to be talking about, and we're going to move into the 12 tribes from the bosom of Sarah, not his handmaid Hagar, not those 12 tribes, not those 12 nations, not those that were also blessed and gifted, and the promise of that from the Father. As we're going to see, and a typical example here is chapter 20, because Abraham has his wife now get involved in a lie, a half-truth, which is even worse than a lie. If you tell a huge lie, people know it. If you tell the whole truth, you don't have to have a good memory. You don't have to have a good memory to tell the truth because it's there. People who are liars have to have excellent memories because they got to remember the lie they told the week before. But Abraham tells a lie here because he doesn't want his wife to be taken from him. Abraham has great faith and is righteous in the Father, absolutely, positively, and we hold him up, and we will see him one day. He will be a great and incredible supernatural individual in the kingdom to come, the heaven that is not here on this earth. True. But right here, and Abimelech is involved, and this is interesting too, because if people don't listen to their father, the father speaks to other people that are not his. And Abimelech could care less about this Yahweh. Could care less. But the Father speaks to him, and he talks to him, just like later on in the New Covenant with Paul. Paul was learned from this Old Testament. He did not learn from the New. He was doing everything he did, even in the time after the road to Damascus, when he had his big event with Yeshua personally. He still didn't have access to the Gospels and all that. These weren't written until many, many years later. Especially the book of John and all the Gospels of John. They weren't written till way after 20 some odd years after Paul had been crucified. But here the Father talks to Abimelech, and Abimelech listens. Does Abraham listen? Not really. It's Abimelech, someone who is the enemy of Abraham. And he listens, and he tries to get everything corrected, and the Father forgives Abimelech, and he heals his entire family, and his maidservants and slaves, everybody. Fantastic. So then Abraham prayed to Elohim in verse 17 in chapter 20, and And because of that, there was a pact and an understanding. And because of that, the faith. What was the problem with Abraham? Here was his problem. He believed in Abraham in his own yard, but when he got out of his yard, he got scared. He didn't have the faith in Yahweh in Abimelech's backyard. That's what it was all about. Oh, dear Abraham, Yahweh is Yahweh of the world. He owns the world. He made the world. He can get rid of the world. Now we're in chapter 21. Now Yahweh was gracious to Sarah, and as he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah what he had promised. Grace and mercy is demonstrated throughout the Bible, not just in the New Testament or the New Covenant. This is just an example. Once again, that's grace and mercy right there. I was brought up in the church that taught we are in the age of grace. We're in the age of grace. So when Yeshua rose to the dead, the age of grace started. No. Actually, I started learning that it didn't start upon his ascension to the Father. It happened when he got baptized. There's the grace. This is my son, whom I well pleased. There's grace and mercy right there. But continue on in apologetic studies, congregating with people in the right times on Shabbats. And when you gather with people on Shabbats, you're not gathering with people on Sunday mornings in church, because they're different people. They're different thinking. Very different thinking. You start seeing things as the whole Bible sees it, Old and New Covenants. You just don't, I'm a Christian, I study the New Covenant, or I'm an Orthodox Jew and I study the Old Covenant, and then never the twain shall meet. No, the entire word of Yeshua is the Old and New combined. There is no Old and New Testament. It just goes from one to the other. One now becomes the better one. That is the New Covenant. So much for some of my Hebrew roots people that say, oh, you just crossed the line here, because we read only what we're told by Orthodox Judaism as our weekly portions. That's what we do. But we know so much more than the Christians do. Oh, do you really? Well, or you're paying attention to someone who tells you what to do, who hates Yeshua HaMashiach. Those rabbis with their fancy robes and all their little stuff that they do, that doesn't mean anything at all, because it's not the word here to do it. Even the dances. I looked and studied the dances for years. They're fun. They're easy. They're different. People dance. All kinds of people dance in different ways. But can you, Hebrew roots, say for a fact that this circle dancing is not gypsies? Not gypsy dancing from the Baltic area, from Austria, from Bulgaria, the steppes of Russia, from Ashkenazis who do the same thing, and yet atheists. Whoa. So don't judge harshly on the Christians, and Christians don't judge harshly on Orthodox Judaism, and Orthodox Judaism don't judge harshly on everybody else, and Hebrew roots don't sit there and get in between and get into a big argument and think that you know more when in fact you've got a lot to go. Trust me, by making mistakes, congregating with others, forgiving with others, you'll learn a whole lot more than just closing your mind and just saying, I've learned something new. No, I don't do that stuff. I don't do that stuff. I do this stuff. 2 or 3 years later, you're doing totally different stuff. In chapter 21, we get back to it. It says, Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Our comment in human behavior, we pay attention to the firstborn in many matters. But it is demonstrated throughout this entire word that the secondborn is often the one who is blessed, and things go and happen because of them. Now, as a result of that, we have Verse 17, Elohim heard the boy crying, and a messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What is the matter, Hagar? Don't be afraid. Elohim has heard the boy crying as he lies here. Comment, Yahweh can hear you crying in prayers even today. So that boy, Ishmael, not wanted, ends up being a great leader in that he has 12 nations that come out of him. And because of what Abraham did, right or wrong, which was wrong, the Father still blessed the seed that comes out of it. Why? Because there's good seed mixed in with a bad seed. In other words, seed that does good, people that do good, people that do bad, people that do both, lukewarm, and think they're both the same. Lukewarm, not good. Do one or the other, and do it with your full heart into it. And you'll end up where you're supposed to be. One way may end up in difficulties because you made the wrong choice, but some people learn that way. Yahweh loves them because he knows who all of his people who are elected are going to be. Okay, that's what it all comes about. Verse 33, Abraham planted a tamarisk tree. Now that's interesting. Why did that come up? That's a tree that kind of produces salt, so animals like to lick it. In Beersheba, and there he called upon the name of Yahweh, the eternal Elohim. The word God doesn't fit there. You have to use the real name here to make it understandable. Our comment is this Bible distinguishes between the name Yahweh and the name G-A-W-D, or God with a capital G or little g. And in the early years, as we mentioned, people began to call upon their Elohims, and they were the wrong ones. It was Enos. It was not the time for Enos. Wasn't a grand word. A friend of mine was named Enos, and he said, my grandmother loved me so much. She called me when I was born. I was almost going to die, but I lived. And she said, you are Enos. It is a great word. And I told him I thought the guy was going to have a conniption fit. I said, do you know what Enos means? And this guy went to Bible school every day. He's one of those wonderful Christians. Has milky information, but no meaty information. And he believed and never even thought about it. And I said, well, just look it up. It means a weakling. Your grandmother knew that you barely lived. You were born premature, and as a result of it, she was very happy that you lived because she thought you were just so emaciated you were going to die at birth. And so she helped to name you, and the mother took the name of Enos, E-N-O-S, weakling. He hasn't forgiven me for that. I think maybe I should have told him that. But I thought it was important. I thought, well, she loved you. She loved you so much she called you Enos, the weakling. The weakling made it. And you're a big, tall man now and kind of skinny and a little maldeformed because something was wrong in the birthing process or during the gestation. But he was a wonderful man, still is a wonderful man, a very Yahweh-believing man. Okay. Having said that, that is where we'll end it here, and we'll start next time in chapter 22, part 45. Bless you.